All right, people, we here. All right, people, we on the way to see Grandmaster Karriem Abdallah, 10th Dan in karate. All right, we on the way to New Jersey to see one of the best fighters of the martial arts era. That period of time that they call the golden era of martial arts. This brother right here was in the military and
proceed to the route.
Martial arts in the 60s and would become one of the best fighters that ever was around in that particular era. Newark, New Jersey. Yeah!
Red light, camera ahead.
Interviewing the great Karriem Abdallah, Grandmaster in karate for the Black Karate movement. Judah, who I'm going to interview next.
You want to get in this one?
Yeah, I want to get in this one.
Come on, I'm telling you. Let me chop them up, bro. They ain't seen this. Come on, I'm telling you. Let me chop them up, bro. They ain't seen no guy like me before.
All right, so here with Grandmaster. All right, peace. YG here, a.k.a. Raybon, with Grandmaster Karriem Abdallah.
Mu-Assis Karriem Abdullah.
He doesn't like to use the term Grandmaster. Why?
Because there's only one Grandmaster, and that's God himself. So if you spiritual, God. And it start with a G. And got a deal. So they trick people. Trick knowledge. I praise one person, and that's God, spiritually. So Mu-Assis means the founder, because I'm the founder of the system, the first founder, the first black man in the history of America that did it. Name someone else that came with a system and produced so many champions, but was unrecognized. But you could look in the history books and see black men, which bring tears to my eyes, that invented things, man, and still don't get the recognition. Took our books with all this knowledge, burned them. Not just in America, in Africa, all around. We are the first and will be the last. That's why we are exploding in everything that they kept away from us. Even the president. Look how high.
All right, Karriem, can you talk about your growing up in Newark field projects and what led you to the... All right, Karriem, can you talk about your growing up in Newark field projects and what led you to the martial arts?
I was born and raised in the Phillips-Field projects in Newark, New Jersey.
What was it like growing up in the projects back then?
It was great back then. We never knew what ghetto was. We never knew what hardship was because it was a family. It was a housing project, but families knew one another. It was a friendly atmosphere. We had showers when the summertime, the showers come on. We had a basketball court. We played football, baseball. We played soccer. And the older people in the project, men, showed us how to play the sports. So coming up in the projects was wonderful.
A lot of people talk about who they fought, who they beat. But a lot of people also know that sometimes it's not who you fought or who you beat, but it's who you trained under and who trained under you. Can you talk about that?
Well,
who you trained under and who trained under you?
Well, let's go back to the person that trained me, the late James Cheatham, who died in a plane crash in 1966. That was my only teacher. I need no other. He taught me well, and I trained very hard for his name, because I wanted my teacher to be big. So at the age of 17, I said I'm gonna be the first black karate world champion. before I was a black belt. And that was in 1963. And it took me up until 1964 when actually he gave me a black belt when I was in Chicago fighting for the elimination of the World Championship. I was a brown belt. But while I was sitting on the podium with Prentice Newton and Mu-Assis, he came to me and gave me a black belt. My heart, boom, 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 boom. Because, you know, I was beating black belts, but I never fought in the tournament.
Right.
So that was my first time I got a black belt. Not even knowing katas, my fighting ability prior to that. That's why he knew I was ready. And in that elimination, I can tell you some of the men that was there. Some of them are gone now, but their names will always be remembered by the people that was under them.
Okay.
Robert Trias was a 9th degree black belt. He refereed my fights in the eliminations, which I defeated 3 fighters in the eliminations. And the next fight was going to be against the former world champion. His name was Lulazat. And actually I defeated Lulazat at that particular tournament. And years later, actually it was in the 70s when the KA system was on fire that he wrote me a very astonishing letter. And in that letter, he was talking about how good I was, how strong my techniques was, and the control I had. And in that letter, did I send you a letter?
Yes, sir.
I sent you that letter, right?
Yes,
You read it, right?
I read it from Robert Trias.
Right, Robert. And
talk about who was Robert Trias as well.
Robert Trias
Briefly.
was the head of the style of karate, kendo. He was in a big association. He was a big man then. I didn't even know he was big as he was until I read the letter. But he said in that letter that he had never, out of all the fighters that he had seen in karate, that he had never seen a fighter with my strength, speed, technique, and control.
And what about Steve Muhammad? Was Steve Muhammad also a part of the Kenpo under Robert Trias?
I'm not sure. I never read the history on Steve. Back then, I didn't even know about Steve Muhammad. Later on, going through the magazines, I saw a lot about Steve Muhammad and that he was an outstanding fighter. June Reed was Jeff Smith's teacher.
Okay, and who were some of the people that you looked up to in the martial arts world, being that you were up and coming, or did you just want to prove your own point and cement your own legacy?
I didn't look up to nobody. The only person I relied on was my teacher. And once he taught me, I didn't need nothing else because I was beating guys in the streets. and I wasn't worried about guys in the tournament because they say you got to fight with control in the tournament. You have to pull your punches. So my fights in the street was very few because, let me tell you one incident. It was a gang called the Barracudas in Newark, New Jersey. And I used to give little canteens, you go there to dance and everything. And this guy wanted to dance with this young lady from the projects, beautiful girl, her name was Barbara Finley. I'll never forget it, she's gone now. And he forced her to dance. So me being a promoter of the dance at that time, I interrupt him. I stepped in between him and started dancing with her and then backed away and said, I'm okay. And I turned around and he cold copped me. This guy cold copped me, right? So I pulled back, right? And tore his tail up and they broke it up, right? Later, to find out that he was the leader of this Barracuda gang, right? So I was hunting for him. So one day I saw him between Avon Avenue and Bergen Street. And I said, hey, I want you, stay right there. We're gonna finish this fight because they had broke the fight up at the canteen, right? And I got a little close to him. I said, come on, I'm ready. He said, no, man, I don't want no more of you. He must have found out about me because I bust him up, after he cold caught me. And back then it was called one punch knockout. Guys used to hit a guy one time and he was out, and I didn't go out, so he didn't want no part of me. And listen to this one. And this is 2024 now. I saw him around 2 years ago. And I said, his name was Larry. I said, Larry, do you remember me? and he was like a little deformed. I think he had a stroke or something like that, and he shook his head. So he remembered me, the leader of a gang. So karate tournaments didn't mean nothing to me.
What led you to martial arts and not the gangs back then in the 60s and 70s?
Well, I was playing basketball, and a friend of mine named Charles Moore start play fighting with Chancey, right? So we started playing the basketball game to watch them spar. You know how guys smack one another when they play fighting. So after the fight, I thought he was fighting dirty because he threw some kicks. So I went to Charles and said, Charles, why was you sparring dirty, throwing kicks? He said, that wasn't dirty. I was doing karate. We didn't know what karate was. I was 17. I said, that's dirty fighting. He said, no, it's called karate. So I said, where did you learn it from? He wouldn't tell me. So I waited till later on when his mother came home. I went to his house and said, Miss Moore, Charles was doing a little fighting, but he was throwing some kicks, and he said he learned karate. So I said, he wouldn't tell me where it was. So she told me where the school was. And that's my first time ever seeing karate.
And when was the first time you went to an actual tournament for fighting?
My first tournament was at the karate school, James Cheatham School. Now I'm beating all the white belts in the school, destroying them. But at the contest, you're nervous. I was nervous. So I took a third place. I still had that trophy at this big. I took a third place. So and later on in life, I realized because you take a third place at some time in your life, don't mean you're a third place fighter.
Right.
Because after that just ignited me. And the first time fighting in front of a lot of people gets you nervous.
Right.
So that's why sometimes even now in boxing, you hear a champ say he haven't experienced what I've experienced. That you get a certain nervousness. And you do things that you ordinarily wouldn't do. So after that nervousness, that never happened to me again because I was fully prepared.
All right, so as far as the martial arts tournament, the golden era, right? You mentioned that you were part of the old school fighters like Jeff Smith, Fred Hamilton. Can you talk about Fred?
Fred Hamilton wasn't a fighter; he was an instructor.
He was an instructor, and what about his tournaments?
Well, he gave one tournament, a full contact tournament at the Apollo Theater in New York.
Okay.
And Happy Robot Crump beat a very known kung fu guy. I don't want to mention his name because I don't want to mention his name. But
Right.
that was lightweight. He took a lightweight championship. My heavyweight had a draw with one of Fred guys, and Fred wrote us a bad check. That's all I want to say. But Fred was but Fred was a good guy. He's not here with us any longer, but
Right.
he was the only other guy that stood up for something. No one else spoke. There was a lot of other instructors, black instructors, but none of them stayed on our side. I stayed on our side, and Fred Hamilton did.
What about Grandmaster Sensei George Cofield?
George Cofield, then he had moved away from really teaching. Cofield had the baddest school in New York. And let me share this with you. In 1964, my teacher gave a tournament at West Side High School in Newark, New Jersey, where I fought Cofield's top black belt at the time. And it wasn't a puppet, it was someone else. Cofield was the only school showed up. Going back on that, it reminds me of what I went through when I gave tournaments. Only a few schools came, because most of them knew they was going to get their tails whipped. And they didn't want to disgrace their system. See, everything was a system. If it was Shotokan, Ishinryu, Guju, something like that, didn't get the support. I went through the same stuff my teacher went through.
Wow.
But I was blessed to create a karate system, which magnified and changed the way karate guys fight right now.
Okay, and how many champions did you produce from your particular school, the KA system?
Well, I produced champions in white belt division, woman division, green belt, brown belt, and black belt. Not one division, but all divisions. And I created one of the prolific fighters this country has ever seen doing katas and fighting, Little KA, which I named him the 8th wonder of the world when he was 8 years old.
Little KA, who's that?
His name was Kevin Thompson. That was his birthday.
Okay.
He's gone now, but I just have to give him a little credence because he did it.
All And can you name some of the fighters that he might have fought back then?
Well, the little guys, I don't remember them. He was a peewee. He was a peewee back
But he
then.
was ranking up wins.
Oh, if you go through the Facebook, go on YouTube, he's all across it, because he's the most prolific karate guy of all times as far as tournament play, fighting, and katas. And the katas he performed is the ones I created. He just added some of mixed the katas up a little bit.
Right. All right. So let me ask you: if you have 5 martial artists from the golden era of martial arts to enter into a tournament with you against 5 other tough opponents, what and it could be 5 from any system, what 5 would you select?
Which 5? That's kind of hard. To 5 to go against who?
Against another 5. Another
5 against 5.
right.
Okay.
So this is basically the top 10 fighters.
Some of these are
then.
deceased. Edward Thompson is deceased. Him against Joe Louis.
Okay.
Chuck Norris, his weight was I think in his 40s. I'm not sure of his weight. Let's see who I have. Let's say there was a guy in Taekwondo. I can't think of his name, man. And he was a world
Albert
champion.
Cheeks?
Albert Cheeks.
Albert Cheeks.
Put Albert Cheeks against Chuck Norris. Cheeks would have wiped him out. Now, Benny Uiquez, you know, Benny from
Benny the
California.
Jet Urquidez,
He's a
right,
jet.
right. He was vicious.
If I had him on my side, put him against anybody in his weight class, he'd have destroyed him.
Oh, shit.
All right? We got...
Speaking of Benny the Jet Urquidez, he famously fought against Tyree Cassell, too, and a couple other guys. How was that fight?
You want me to... I can't tell the truth, but nothing but the truth as I'm here today. Tyree Cassell against Benny. Tyree Cassell saved his reputation by going to the ground because he couldn't beat him. He couldn't beat him.
It was 2 different styles.
No. 2 different categories of fighting ability. He couldn't beat Benny. He stayed on the floor. I was at that fight.
Because I think Benny was undefeated for
Forever.
years.
Forever.
Forever, right?
Nobody beat that boy.
Nobody.
No. Nobody
Wow.
beat him. Nobody beat him.
Wow.
And I didn't have anybody in his weight class to fight him.
Well, where was Benny the Jet out of? California?
Yes, California.
And who was his teacher?
I don't know.
But he was a bad guy because
Oh, he was a bad man.
His things is all over YouTube.
Oh yeah, he's a bad man.
All right, so we got number 3, Benny the Jet Urquidez. We got 2 more guys on the Karriem Abdullah team. Not counting yourself.
All right, not counting myself. Well, I didn't know about Jeff Smith at the time, so I can't count him in, because I didn't know about it. We said Albert Cheeks, right?
Right. Yeah, Albert Cheeks.
You got Albert Cheeks, and he had a partner,
Mike Warren.
Mike Warren. I'll have both of them. Now Mike Warren, I have him in there.
Okay.
Against who? At that time, I would have liked him to fight Mylo Thompson, a fighter that I had that he was a freestyle crouch fighter. But I think Cheeks would have beat him.
Mylo Thompson fought Silky John Davis too,
Yes,
right?
yes. Destroyed him. Moses took him out the 3rd round. They were supposed to go 4 rounds.
This is Moses
He
Powell?
just left, yes. Moses left the place with with him. That's a fact. I have all the stuff too. You saw my albums.
Right.
I have all that in there. And I wrote about the fight. Yeah.
You guys were a part of a great era. So if you had to describe these following grandmasters who were your peers in one word, what would it be? Number 1, Grandmaster Moses Powell.
Dear friend, and one of my peers.
Do you have any stories you could share with
We had a contact. We stayed in contact, and most of our contact was just eyes when we saw one another, how we greeted one another, and what was always pleasant to one another. I remember when Wesley Snipes gave his event in New York. And they had me in the audience, Moses was over there with the VIPs. They always discriminated against me. But Moses came to me at one time and said, Karriem, you think we're going to get paid? I said, did you talk about money before you came here? He said, no, you're not getting paid. And I'm not even thinking about no pay. So we had a contact, and every now and then I used to give him a call.
Okay. What about Professor Ronald Duncan? One word.
Ronald, yeah, we never had a close, I don't say relationship. That sounds like a girl and guy.
Pause.
We had a rapport with one another, as respecting one another. That's all. But I don't remember him ever producing any good fighters.
Okay. Sensei George Cofield.
Cofield. When I met Cofield, it was later on at Wesley's event. We didn't talk too much. Le Puppet and I talked a lot. Matter of fact, I invited him to come to Newark when I was doing the kickboxing.
Right, I was going to ask you about him next, Sensei Thomas Le Puppet.
Yeah, Le Puppet was a student of George Cofield. A lot of people don't know that. He was a student of George Cofield. Very pleasant person. He made a lot of history, you know, in karate.
Right.
He was a pretty good fighter, but Prentice Newton from my school beat him. After my teacher had died, I didn't enter the tournament that my teacher used to give every year, right?
Wow.
But Prentice Newton beat him.
Wow.
Prentice was the baddest thing around. He was the only guy I knew, and I have photographs of him breaking the red brick on his chest.
Wow.
Yes. And broke a center slab with one finger. I have pictures.
Wow.
So I always mention his name. Like he backed away from the karate scene after the teacher died, but always mention his name. He's the only fighter that caught me with a straight back kick when we sparred. But Prentice was a brown belt and I was a white belt, and I didn't know anything about the defense for a straight back kick. And after that, after he hit me, he pinned me against the wall. And then I came after him and the teacher stopped it. Let me tell you just exactly what happened. It was like yesterday. The teacher said, you stand over there, you stand there. The teacher looked at Prentice and said, how old are you? He said, 17. Point to me, how old are you? I said, 17. Looked at Prentice and said, when is your birthday? I think he said August or something, I'm not sure. When is your birthday? July the 4th. He looked at both of us and said, sit down. That's the last time Prentice and I fought in the dojo. He was saying to himself, as I grew older, you know, started looking at magnifying this thing, that this is going to be the man, you're going to be 1 and 2 always. And that's the way it was. Because when he and I fought in the tournament that my instructor gave when Cofield was there, it was called the Metropolitan Championship. Me and Prentice, I had defeated George Cofield, top boy. I was catching his punches with my hand on the back. I gotta get that picture out and send it to you so you can see me catching his punch.
So your school and George Cofield's school were the best 2 schools.
Only 2 schools. Cofield was the only one showed up. This is 1964. That's how the reputation spread it with me fighting and Prentice fighting, because Prentice had beat one of the top guys in the Marines at this championship fight and was eliminated. You know what I mean?
So this is New York versus New Jersey, and specifically Brooklyn versus New Jersey, because Cofield's out of Brooklyn.
Now, me and Prentice had to fight for the championship. And Alan Lee was a friend of my teacher's, right? He was a Kung Fu guy.
Right.
He was a referee. Me and Prentice did 2 overtimes. And then my instructor and Lee got together and they decided to give it to Prentice because he was the top of the class, not because he won the bout. But it was okay. It was okay because I knew that destiny was ahead of me. And me and Prentice is all right now.
Okay. Cofield is in Aaron Banks's extravagant. What's the name of Aaron Banks?
World Karate something.
Yeah, World Karate, right. He's in there with Alex Sternberg and Dwight Hall.
Sternberg was just a student of Cofield. He was a Jewish guy that was a student of George Cofield.
All right.
Okay. Hipping you, boy, putting you up there.
Speaking of boxing, did you see the Claressa Shields fight last night?
No, I didn't see that fight.
Yeah, she knocked her out. She's now the heavyweight champion.
Doesn't surprise me.
You know, she's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. She's now a heavyweight champion in 5 different weight classes, and she was also a mixed martial artist. Now, she's calling herself the GWOAT, greatest woman of all times. You know, which I find is, she has a strong case because Layla Ali was 23-0, but they claim that she didn't really fight anybody. She knocked out a lot of lesser opponents, and her main fight was against the white girl, Christy.
Yeah, I remember that fight.
All right, so as far as women's martial arts, we know that there was Grandmaster Linda Denley out of Texas, who was probably one of the best women's fighters in her era, being ranked #1 from 1973 to 1996. Did you get a chance to see Linda Denley or meet her in person?
Never met her or some of the other great female fighters. Let's go back to the GOAT. You know, after you get the belts and everything, you have to defend those belts a few times and do some legendary things, and then you call yourself a GOAT. Of course, she got the titles. That doesn't make her the GOAT right now. She's just the best in all the divisions. Now, if she stay in heavyweight division and fight somebody, and all of them are credible. People are always saying, this person wasn't that good, this person wasn't that good. Most of these people are non-athletes. They're just people that's viewing it and giving their own personal opinion. But every time you get in front of another fighter that's been training for years, that's competition. Yours was just better. So I just want to recant what these people are saying. They just blabbermouths, you know.
Okay, and you trained a couple of boxers in your career as well. Can you talk about that?
Oh my goodness. This is going to be the unbelievable thing that you hear from me. Remember James Scott from Roy State Prison? He was out of sight. He was fighting out of Roy State Prison. He was born in the same projects I was born in, Phillips Food Court. I remember his whole family, and we used to call them crazy because it was just wild, right?
Right.
So James Scott, we was from the same project area. I know his whole family, and he came to be an out of sight boxer from Roy State Prison.
Okay.
But two of my most top fighters that I trained, one was Yaqui Lopez when he fought Matthew Saad Muhammad for the light heavyweight championship of the world. I trained Yaqui Lopez in California. And I remember I knew a way to beat Matthew Saad Muhammad, and he didn't follow directions. What I mean by that, I said, you can't beat Saad. You can outbox him, and then you have to have a gas tank, because eventually, after you take all that punishment, he's coming to get you. So I told Yaqui this here throughout the camp, right? But when Yaqui started fighting him and got him in trouble, he threw maybe 50 punches, and I knew that was the end. I was in the corner. You can't even regain that gas tank. And then Matthew came back, I think, in the 11th round, and he blew him out of there. The other fighter was Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. He was getting ready to fight Marvin Johnson. So some local promoters was trying to steal him from the former manager, right? So they brought me in because Eddie was a fighter that many of the times he wouldn't make weight. He wouldn't train as hard. So they called me in because they knew I was a disciplinarian. So at the meeting at Eddie's house, and I knew Eddie because I used to go to Gleason Gym just to watch him, train. So
down on Front Street by the bridge.
Right. So I said, Eddie, the only way I take this job, I'm not a yes man. If I say go another round, we got to run, you got to do it. Unless otherwise, I'm not interested. So Eddie agreed, right? So we went to Muhammad Ali's camp to train. I used to wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. It used to be 20 below zero. I used to wake up before everybody else and go to his cabinet and knock on the door. Time to go, champ. I was calling him champ then. And we wake up and we would run. Well, I wouldn't run. I'd be in the van behind him, right? Making sure, no dogs, because there was dogs out in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, where he used to train, Ali's training camp. And I used to take him running. The most days Eddie ran with me was 5 days. One time. And that was hallelujah when he ran 5 days, because Mustafa wasn't running 5 days. And then regular running days was at least 4 days a week. But Eddie trained real hard. Now, that wasn't his his boxing trainer, Slim Robinson, was his boxing trainer. That trained him very well. So we had a great understanding. Like, for instance, say Eddie sparring, and Slim
He was
won.
like his strength and conditioning coach.
No, forget about strength and the conditioning coach. No, a trainer. A trainer does everything. A master trainer take you through everything.
Got
So
it.
you don't need a second or third guy to do this here.
Okay.
And then he had a physical fitness trainer right here. But Eddie did the things that he do in boxing. That's all he needed. All this other stuff you see these other guys doing, you can throw that out the window. Because they get tired anyway. They get beat anyway. So if you add something extra, it should prevent a butt whipping in a certain category. But it don't. So all this extra stuff that they're giving fighters nowadays, it's a bunch of crap. Having them training like mixed martial art guys with a rope and all that. You don't need all that stuff. Heavy bag, speed bag, running, good boxing, and good instruction from a master trainer. That's the key. And it's not just one master trainer. Go back when Eddie Futch and all of them was here. It was a whole lot of good trainers. Nowadays, you got a lot of meatball guys.
Right.
They talk more than the fighters instead of the fighter talking, because most of the fighters don't even realize that they're not as good as they think they are.
Okay.
You know? So I know I hit some guys in the nose, but that's all right. Oh, all these pads. I have to talk about the pads. Pad. There's some of them still getting knocked out. None of them fight like those pads.
Right.
The pads are good for certain things.
Reflexes.
No. Either you have good reflex or bad reflex. Either good reflex is being able to dissect what a person is coming to you with a punch. Dissecting it, pop, you can see it, right? I can't tell you what you see it. So you practice things, and then you find out a guy's reflex. All guys are pretty fast, but all of them have good reflex and good timing. And fighting is about timing and reflex. You know, all that other stuff, you don't even need a whole. I use the pads for Yaki Lopez. The reason I use the pads for Yaki Lopez, I had to like I'm sparring him with the pads. The reason I had to do that, before the fight, he got a bad cut in training, and we didn't want to cancel the fight. So I had to learn how to act like I was in there boxing him, right? Putting the mitts up, going body shots and different things with him for like 7 and 8 rounds. These guys just taking hits, you know what I mean? Hits like that. I wouldn't have put these pads on for Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. I just talked to him a few weeks ago. He'd have broke my ribs putting those pads on, talking about doing a left hook to the body, because he was a devastating puncher. So I'm just saying that a lot of methods they use, and they take them from other fighting ways, and it don't help them in boxing at all. At all. It just look nice. Oh yeah, and the manufacturer's making big money selling these things. Right now, and I can get with a fighter, with the pads, and certain things I do for defense, you know.
Right.
A lot of guys, when they try to block a punch down here, they move their arm, right? Yeah, you move your arm, let it stay there. And you just tighten up, tuck your belly, and then you can catch those punches. Ali did that with the rope-a-dope. I did that in karate when I fought Jeff Smith and got against the ropes and did like this here.
Wait, yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask you about that. All right, so there's a picture of you and Muhammad Ali. Looks like y'all sparring and having a good
No,
time.
I ain't no sparring. I wouldn't spar Muhammad Ali with my butt, man.
Really?
These guys talking fake about Muhammad Ali. I was in camp. 200. Listen,
So,
six foot four.
How did you meet Muhammad Ali? What was that all about?
All right, this young man from the hood, right? He had a jewelry store named Rockmont. He's not with us any longer, right? He said he saw me one day. He said, "Karriem, we going to Ali's camp Saturday. Why don't you go with us?" I said, "No, I don't want to go to Ali's camp, man." He said it'd be a great thing. He talked me into it, right? So I said, "I'll let you know a little later." So I told him, I said, "Okay, I'll go." So we went to Ali's camp. Now I'm pretty big in karate, right?
Right.
Just got a name for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Karriem Allah at the time, right? So I went to Ali's camp. And they wanted to introduce me to where's Ali's wife, Khalila. That was his wife, right? So when they introduced me to them, she said, "Oh, you that Karriem." So she was happy to meet me, right? She said, "Oh, I'm gonna let Ali know." So I guess she went around and told Ali, right?
Right.
So but before Ali came, you know, she just brought me all around the camp, introduced me to her cousins and everything. And I have pictures of this stuff, right? And then she said, "Well, I want to learn some karate from you. Can you come here to teach me karate?" I said, yes. So when Ali came, you know, she took charge, and she said, but before Ali came, she said, "You got an outfit?" you know, that outfit, the karate outfit. So I got a top for him, right, with the cage system on. She said, I'm gonna let Ali put this on. So Ali came, he's putting it on Ali, and Ali said, what's this? Well, you know, yeah, be talking. So he put it on, and we took pictures like that. So they welcomed me with open arms. Ali was a tremendous guy.
Tremendous guy. You fought on that undercard Thriller Manila?
Yes. The first karate guys to fight on a heavyweight world championship card. And you know how it came about? My mouth. There were some local promoters, right? So when I saw them one day, they came to see me. I said, I can get on that card. He said, you can't get on that card. I said, if you take some video of me training, talking, just kicking and punching, I said, I bet you he'll put me on that card. They said, oh, man. I said, take the tape to Don King. Took the tape to Don King, right? About 4 or 5 days later, they came to me with their heads down. That's what your head's down for. I said, what Don said? You on that championship card.
Wow.
Just my mouth. Don didn't know anything about me, right? And I have an article that I have to send to you saying that after the Ali is over, we got this new karate guy that's going to come in there and make karate big. Yeah. Now, before the fight, I got to say something about that.
Right.
I didn't get no sparring. No karate guys from the New York City, New York State, any parts of New York, with all the black instructors wouldn't send anybody to help me get in shape for the fight. So how did I get in shape? Just running and just training, doing the things I did. No sparring. Think about that. And this Jeff Smith was knocking everybody out within 3 rounds.
Wow. How long was your fight for?
11 rounds.
11 rounds. So you guys went the distance?
Yeah, went the distance.
Wow.
Went the distance.
And if you don't mind me asking, who came out on top in your mind?
Well, they gave Jeff Smith the fight. He didn't win the battle.
Round for round, I mean, how many minute rounds were there?
It was 2-minute rounds because we had to throw a certain amount of kicks, at least 7 kicks. A lot of kicks that I threw that he blocked, they didn't count as kicks. So they took 6 rounds from me. They was only supposed to take 4. It's 4 for not throwing, you know, it was insufficient amount of kicks. That's all. Now, if you look at the tape, you hear the commentator, oh, he hit him with his side. Talking about Jeff Smith. Got him to the side. I know his side is hurt. He hit him in the head. If he did all that hitting and been knocking out guys, why didn't I fall? And why, when I did the rope-a-dope, at least rope-a-dope, and letting them throw punches at me, if he hurt me, my hands would have dropped and I'd have been going down like the other guys that he fought. Wow. That never happened.
So, I mean, can you...
One other thing. I called June Ree up. That was his trainer. That was his sensei at the time.
June Ree is the student of Bruce Lee.
No, forget about that. June Ree was the student of Jeff Smith.
Okay. All
right, so I called him in Washington, D.C. and said, I want a rematch. I'm going to get him this time. I won't play around. He said, never again.
Wow.
So that fight never transpired again.
Wow. Now, this match, what style was it in? Karate, kickboxing?
It was kickboxing.
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 So you were also a kickboxing champion as well?
Well, yes.
Wow. Okay, one last question. All right. Karate, Kung Fu, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Capoeira. Can you rank those as far as like martial arts systems back then and now? I mean, did you have a favorite, or did you train in one style or 2 styles? And you know, what would you suggest to the youth?
What years are you talking about now?
The youth that's trying to get into martial arts, which style is
conducive for that particular person? Well, it's up to them to choose what style they want to be in.
Okay, and what's the differences between karate, kung fu, jiu-jitsu in your opinion?
You can look at it and see the difference. One is flipping, running, wrestling, doing rolls and all that other kind of stuff. Karate is hand-to-hand, more hand-to-hand combat. Judo and jiu-jitsu that had, flipping and turning and wrestling, all that together. It's what a person liked to do. I didn't like judo and jiu-jitsu because you had to flip. So I had a bad experience with the one of the first guys that was showing me karate at the mosque. Because I used to laugh at people a lot, I was a comedian in a way. And the instructor saw me laughing at what he was showing the student, because the student couldn't get it right, and asked me to come up. And he flipped me without even showing me how to break the fall. So when he flipped me, I just protected myself falling down. I said, I don't want to do this no more. So I knew judo wasn't my thing. He just wanted to make me out of example. And all the guys was laughing. You know what I told all of them in the temple? I said, y'all, I'm going to remember all your faces, because when we get on that karate floor, I'm going to bust all of you. And that's what pushed me, that incident. And I was only like 17 years old. Okay. So karate was my love. And, you know, all of us learned how to wrestle a little bit, fighting together. You had to learn how to wrestle. We didn't have names for certain things. We knew what a choke out was. That was the main thing, to choke a guy out. And that would be my main thing, you know, to learn the choke outs and all that, you know. I can't see how I'm going to just let you grab me and throw me down. You can snatch out of that. You let a guy control your hands. No, you don't allow that. You can't even control one of those girls' hands when they mad at you. And now I'm going to let a guy come like this here and just control my arms? No way, I'm going to hit you before no. Now think about this. He going another.
Right, because if you're manipulating somebody's arm with the
all those moves,
wrist locks,
all those moves,
that means that
you waiting to get right. You waiting to get dumped.
You're open.
Yeah, you're not even thinking. So a lot of these guys who do that in practice actually get accustomed to somebody grabbing them first, and they be in trouble. A lot of you just grab on. I got you. You don't let them grab. How about this one? Let me give you a good one, and I know they're gonna talk about this one. How about when you go on the ground, an MMA fighter, go on the ground on your back with all the judo, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling information you have, and you stand on the ground getting tapped out on the ground without even hardly fighting back. I saw one or two guys that would come up and try to grab them or get their arm and do something or try to flip them over. I guarantee you, you can weigh 200 pounds, 300 pounds, and I'll flip your butt over. You get on me, I'm going to get up some kind of way. Or you're going to get hit while I'm on the ground. I'm not just going to let you ground and pound.
So what about the Gracies? They were pretty successful in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the UFC era.
Take nothing from them. I'm not saying individuals. I'm saying in general, the way they teach it, and don't teach you to get up with all this knowledge you have fighting on the floor. And you're going to wrap your legs around. I'm going to wrap my leg around you and let you stay there. And you just slugging me, and you finding how to grab my arm, to twist it, to do a move. You know, got to teach a guy that. Got to teach him to get up. That's easy.
So karate was basically on the offensive.
No, karate.
Attacking. Karate
is attacking. It ain't just talking about, it's called a self-defense. Boxing is a self-defense, but it's also aggressive when you have to use it. Right?
Right.
So they call all of them defense. Jiu-jitsu is defense. They offense too. And you better learn that offense.
Wow.
Offense is execution.
And speaking of offensive execution, I see you got the KA system of karate there. Yeah.
All right.
What's that book about?
This book is on the freestyle crouch only. One of the styles that I created. Now, when you create a system of karate, you should write a book about it. A lot of guys saying they have a system, they created something, but you don't see it. Nor did they prove that it worked. You have to have at least one or two techniques that's different from anything that anybody have seen in karate, and that's what the KA system did. You know, I proved that it worked. We have 3 different reverse punches. We got the slight tilt, half tilt, and full tilt reverse punches. And if you see me executing those punches, you say, well, I've never seen that in karate before. No other system have it. All of them taught the same reverse punch. It's not bad now, but I'm saying innovation is going forward with something, right? So say everybody's, okay, when you go to see karate movies or Japanese samurai, don't one style be a vice versa in another style? And sometimes a guy that you're versing, a master comes in and say, you have to learn a certain technique. So they take you to the mountains to teach you that technique, because that technique will work against that particular guy because they seen that guy fight.
That's his Achilles heel.
Right. So karate was the same thing. But what happened when the KA system came, it was so different. It wasn't acceptable. Being a black man, accept the way they fight good, but we can't accept that. So everybody was against me in the 60s when this came in 1967, 68, 69. I didn't have nobody had my back. The only one had my back was God. God had my back. And that's why I survived and produced champions. Because if you have a system, you have to produce champions. It can't be for you. It's for the world to see. I couldn't go to California. I didn't have the money to bring my kids to California, so we fought in the East Coast. Henry Cho knew me. Knew me. A lot of the some Koreans knew me. They knew my name because we defeated a lot of their fighters, but they didn't give my fighters the titles.
Why? Why didn't they give the fighters
Nina
the titles?
Simone, because she said our skin is black. It wasn't a time in history that you would be recognized, black folks. You got to wait another 15 to 20 years. And it's been that long.
So was Victor Moore and those guys in your era or before you, or Rico Guy?
That came later on. I didn't even know Victor Moore back then. You know, when the Kung Fu thing came out with him and Bruce Lee came, you know, with that thing, and they cheated about
Right,
that. That was a big lie.
Right.
That was a big lie. Listen, if anybody get that close to you, could beat you to the punch. Let's get in fighting distance, see can you beat me to the punch. So, let it make sense. This close to one another.
Right.
Right? And you're going to go first. You may beat me to the punch. The closeness.
Right.
The degree. Nah, let's get a little further back where we in fighting distance.
See.
Huh? So you want to come over here?
Yeah.
Okay. We're this close. You may beat me to the punch every time. All right. Was they about this close to one another?
Right.
So you may beat me to the punch every time. Right. You may beat me to. Yeah, I can't even catch it. See, I mean, I caught it there, but I'm just, you know, okay. But you may beat me to it.
Right.
Right? Now, move back a little bit. And maybe I'll now try to do it. Come a mile back. I ain't even got to block that.
Wow.
And you coming close. Okay?
Wow.
There's a difference. A little kid may beat you to the punch that close. That doesn't show your speed.
Right.
All of us have speed.
Right.
Let's get in that fighting range and see can you do that.
Okay.
So all that stuff is make-believe. Put on Hollywood. They and Victor won at that, but they didn't give it to him. They didn't get no credit for it. But they give all this credit to him because he's Oriental. They always give the foreign people credit before they give our own people credit. And who ran the magazines? Who run the magazines? All right? They didn't want Victor to be big. They didn't want Victor to be big, and I'm hoping his documentary come out to show that he's capable and he could have beat these guys. Bruce Lee wouldn't fight him back then. He didn't fight nobody. He was a Hollywood star, a movie star. And they keep praising him. And you know what gets me about this whole thing about Bruce Lee? I don't talk about, and then some of the philosophy that he had. He ridiculous. Remember one time he said there's no style? There's no system? So why he got a system out there? There's a style and there's a system.
Right.
Everybody have a style. Even if you're not a karate guy, you got a style of walking. And it's good for you. I remember a guy that used to come to the project, walk through the project, right? And he used to hug the wall. He used to walk and hug the brick wall as he walked. That's a style. Style is a system. In martial art, the system, he discredited everybody when he said that. And then you hear people say, oh yeah, that's mastery of what he said. That's a dummy, that what he said. That don't mean make sense. Styles. You have boxing styles that sometime a fighter have to change his style a little bit.
Right.
To defeat another guy. So that's ridiculous. You make movies, you get big, anything you say, they glorify it and then you accept it. But it's not common sense. Not common sense to me. When before I used to fight some guys and I saw them fight, right? I said, you only stand 3 chances.
What's those?
Small chance, slow chance, and no chance at all.
Wow.
They didn't have my giddy up. They didn't know how when I said I ran 6 days a week when I was getting ready for fights, that's what I meant. I used to run with brick in my hand, Weekway Park, 3 miles. I didn't hold the brick for all 3 miles. Sometimes I had to drop it down, right? I didn't lift no weights. I didn't need no weights. I just need kicking and punching and execution and good sparring. That's the key. And my instructor wasn't there. My instructor never said, you should have threw this kick or do this kick or that kick. Because back then in 74, you know, I didn't know one from another. Matter of fact, he never taught me a straight back kick. He taught Prentice a straight back kick because that's what he caught me with. But no other fighter in history ever touched me with a straight back kick. You can't catch me with a straight back kick now. And most guys can't even throw a straight back kick as quick as I can throw it right now. I could look at him and say, let me see just straight back kick. And I could see, I said, now I'm going to show you real how it's supposed to be done. And show him right on the button how to do it. And then make the guy a much better fighter.
All right. Speaking of fighters, you mentioned Jeff Smith, Joe Louis, Chuck Norris. There was another guy by the name of Mike Stone.
I fought him in 1965 at Junior Marine Tournament in Washington, D.C., right? And I knew I had just beat a Chinese guy. And then I had changed the way I was fighting at the karate school. I got to get this picture and show it to you. I fought him and I opened up my arms like this here when I was fighting him. And the reason I did that, I wanted to suck him into thinking he could score on me because I had a counter for it. So even in the 64, before I even created the system, I had an imagination to trick a person into certain things. Just like Hank tricked you into doing certain things over and over and he'd catch you, bam, right? So I did the same thing in karate. Now, when Mike Stone came up, now remember, we fighting in eliminations. I had beat 2 guys, but I got a picture of me, fighting the Chinese guy that I outpointed him. Mike Stone was my next fight. So when we greeted in and we got into the stance, I noticed that he just stood there with his hands down. And you know what I said to myself? I finally got somebody that could fight. And whatever he did, he couldn't catch me.
Mike Stone was in karate too?
Yeah, well, he was a karate man.
All right.
I think he could have been a prior champ back then in 65. He said he never fought me, but he did fight me in Washington, D.C., and I have the pictures to show it. Matter of fact, I sent it to Tiari Cassell about a week ago, so he could see me in my stance. And I asked that I was trying to do a fake sweep,
right?
And he didn't go for it. And I said, man, I got to fight today, and I knew it.
So being that, you're naming karate guys, jiu-jitsu guys, kung fu guys. So this is the early mixed martial arts era, in fact, before the UFC.
Yes.
Because you guys had different styles facing different styles.
Yes. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
One of the styles is famously on the magazines, Madison Square Garden, Soki John Davis karate versus Tyree Cassell jiu-jitsu. Now, kung fu. My understanding is that John Davis was jiu-jitsu, not karate.
Right.
So why did they market it as karate and kung fu?
Promotion, I don't know why the promoter did that. It was ridiculous. Should have had the right titles for it, but they didn't do it. But I think Little John knew more of a Shotokan fighting back then.
Oh, Shotokan karate.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
So that's understandable.
Right.
Before jiu-jitsu.
Right, because he didn't do no jiu-jitsu when he fought.
When he fought, right? Because jiu-jitsu was all about locks and
throwing down. You didn't see none of that back then.
Okay, wow. Well, that was a great fight. It's on ABC Wild World Sports.
Yes.
Including yours and Jeff Smith. Now, you got a documentary coming up, right?
Yes. A guy named Troy, from North Carolina, is completing the second documentary, who we hope that one day become a motion picture. We're going to see how far it go. They still editing it. Hopefully sometime in 24 it'll be out, so I'm just waiting for a phone call.
And what's the name of that documentary going to be?
He gave me the name and I forgot because they didn't want it to be nothing like Mu-Assis.
Karriem Abdallah?
No, it won't be Allah. It got to be Abdallah or something on there. So they came up with a title for it.
Okay.
And I accepted it. See, I listened. All right. So since they're the movie makers and they think it sound good and all of them agreed, and they called me and told me, I said, that's okay.
Okay, and what other podcasts can we catch you on?
Well, we got one, Alex.
Oh, it's Mu-Assis Speaks.
Mu-Assis Speaks. And
the YouTube channel for that?
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel.
Mu-Assis Speaks is the YouTube channel.
Yes. Now, Mu-Assis is an Arabic word meaning the founder.
Okay, can you spell that? Because I know you can't put apostrophes in YouTube.
Okay. I want to make sure I got it right. Almuassis. Mu-Assis means the founder. So I don't call myself Grandmaster. There's only one Grandmaster to me, Islamically, and that's God. So I never went through the title Grandmaster. See, everything about...
So, right, because I wanted to ask you, what's your idea of requirements for promotions and black belt? What makes somebody from a white belt, brown belt, to a black belt, to a red belt? Different
requirements. White belt is no requirements. You just show up and start training. And then going on to my second class is different. And then the first promotion, there's certain kicks and punches that you've been taught already that you have to be able to do. It's a certain level of degree of fighting before you go to the next class.
Fighting?
Yeah, not katas. No.
What about years?
You can forget the katas. You can forget the katas. I didn't do no katas. Every kata I did, I failed.
Right, because forms doesn't really necessarily mean somebody's a good fighter.
That's for sure.
All right, because you could be the best forms guy and lose a fight. I've had a couple of fights with guys who were champions in forms, and they couldn't defend the overhand right when I threw it. And I landed, and it was over.
You answered the question. I don't even have to answer it. You just answered it.
All right, but we got to know for the audience. Okay.
Katas have
the former weight, right?
Katas have nothing to do with your fighting ability. In a technique that's unknown, and you will find out when you do a kata 1,000 times. Come on, man. That's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What hidden technique? There's no such thing as hidden techniques. All this stuff they're trying to make you believe, you might as well go back to the slave plantation camp. You want to believe all that foolishness.
So we were talking about the promotions. All right, so katas, the former way to be promoted.
Okay, the former way to be promoted in the KA system, even though I have katas, and let me tell you, all the katas I created back there was championship katas. I just remember a little bit of them all, because remember, I wasn't a kata man, so that wasn't implanted in my head to remember. All right, I could create a kata. I could create a championship black belt kata. All right, it embedded in you if you have the coordination to execute it and make you a champion right now, today, 2024, make you a champion. I could take your kata and put some other stuff in it to make it better. Put me to the test. You know, I can do it because that's the kind of instructor. Now, I'm just not a karate instructor. I train fighters. We mentioned Yaki Lopez, right, and Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. I helped bring them to the world championship. Eddie won it. Yaki lost it because Saad Muhammad was just too much for him. But I can recount all the things that I said to you. A liar cannot repeat what he said prior. They'll forget. Ask me the next day. Ask me the next year. My memory is still there. I remember everything in karate from 1963.
Okay, yeah.
But sometimes I can't even remember a prayer. Some I can remember, some I can't.
Wow.
That's the way God made me. When I first saw photography, I started the photography at 15 years old.
Right.
Started running around taking pictures, right?
Right.
When I first saw karate, gravitated, stayed with me from 1963. I couldn't memorize a poem in school, and they put me in memorial reading, right? Say I was slow, but I didn't have nobody home to help teach me. I came on my own. So my backbone was the people in the projects, man.
So when you were training for these tournaments that you were beating everybody, whooping everybody's A, you know, so you wasn't doing katas, you was just sparring? And shadow boxing?
No, I sparred with guys in the projects that knew how to box, fight. I used to take them ask them to come in the basement, right? Say you was able to whip me boxing, right? I said, well, I got something for you. Let's come to the basement and see can you whip me.
Oh,
I said, I'm gonna be doing karate, right? And I bust them. They couldn't even get a punch on me because my kicks was good, you know what I mean? And I used to kick them, they used to hit the wall, boom, 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 boom. And I'd be right there on them and don't throw the punches. Oh, okay, Karriem.
Oh, shit.
That's how I got my reputation. I was making contact. I had to prove, listen, excuse this word. Had to prove to this nigga that he couldn't whip me no more. So we went in the bricks, we go in the basement without gloves, barefisted. And I said, your day has come to an end. And everyone that went down there got slaughtered. And then my reputation just exceeded after that. I played basketball. I used to go off for a rebound. Yeah! Man, they used to jump back. You know what I mean? It was all through me. So this was meant for me. I didn't want this. I used to cry at night because I was getting so much backlash. But I would wake up with these dreams to get on the floor and practice it. And this came to me. I never thought of this. The pictures in this book was taken about 25 years before this book came out. But I knew one day we'd have to do a book if you created something. You follow what I'm saying? You see these pictures? I had a guy named Lewis Allen who had him come to my dojo to take these pictures of me in different, doing techniques in the KA system. And that's how this book came about. And I have 24 that need to come out for the world to see. And we could take this to the combat floor.
Well, that's what I wanted to suggest for part 2 of this podcast. Let's go out there and see the KA system, as you were learning it and instructing and teaching in it.
I want to do seminars. That's how we could do it. Just give me people that want to learn how to fight in karate.
All right.
I'm not saying they couldn't come.
Like in the park?
Yeah, I can show it anywhere. I don't have to be on no karate floor. Ain't no special floor.
Right.
Just
Doesn't
the
have
place.
to be a dojo.
Don't have to be no dojo.
Streets and everything.
It could be in the street. I taught in the projects with shoes on. These kids sparred with. Kids in here sparred with their shoes on. They can't take the shoes off and cement on the ground. You don't have to have your shoes off to learn this stuff.
Right,
when you go to boxing gym, you don't take your shoes off. So they just made this here a systematic thing. When you go in my house, you have to take your shoes off because all the germs I don't want in my house. But I'm just saying, in learning combat sports, you don't have to have shoes. You can have something real light on your feet. Everybody's feet, sometimes they hurt. So you need to put something on to give it a little cushion. So I have common sense. So, any more, bro?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Till next time, we'll take it to the streets.
Hope to see you again.